Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the NTI PodTalk. My name is Dianne Kaler. I'm the director of NTI, and I am so pleased to welcome a graduate of NTI to our PodTalk, Laurie Rein. And I'm very excited to talk to Laurie because Laurie is the author of a book that I want her to talk about, and we'll kind of get to that as we move through our discussion. But first of all, Laurie, as I mentioned, you are a graduate of our program. And so I wanted to first welcome you and then ask you, when did you graduate? Just so we have a little bit of a timeline.
Sure. So. Well, hi, Dianne. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I graduated actually not too long ago, April of 2022.
Okay.
It took me 20 months to go through the program. So
all right.
I'm a proud graduate.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how long it took you to go through. So
yeah,
20 months. Good. Did you come to school full-time, or were you kind of part-time? How did you partition your time to go to school?
Yeah, I dove right in, Dianne. I took 2 classes at a time, all online because I live in Arizona, and challenging, but absolutely wonderful. And so glad I did it that way. Absolutely, nice. I am. Yeah. Nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, so what made you want to go to school for nutrition? I assume this was, a secondary education. So what made you want to go back to school, like at whatever time you are in your life? What made you want to go back to school? Because that's a big decision.
It's a huge decision, and it sounds nuts, and but honestly, I have wanted to earn an advanced degree for so many years. I graduated college in the late 70s, early 80s, actually, thereabouts. And ever since that time, I wanted to go back to school. And nutrition, health has been a huge part of my life from forever. And it was just that piece that was missing. And, life happened. I started working, I became a single mom, and one thing led to another. And there I was in my 60s going, either you go back or you don't, So COVID hit, and, business was a little slower. I thought, this is a great opportunity to do it now. And I'm, of course, so very grateful that I made that decision. Yeah.
Great. Well, we are grateful and happy that you made that as well. And we're also very happy that you chose NTI. So how did you find NTI? What made you make the decision to actually come to school here? How did all that progress?
So in all my complaining, I have a friend that's been listening to me forever, including my family. Why don't you go back to school? She knew that nutrition was a huge part of what I do as a health coach. And she had a friend that graduated from NTI, and went to school there in person in Colorado. She said, you really ought to check this out. I thought, oh, okay, all righty. I needed that little bit of push, right? So I researched you guys. I went through, the website. I looked at the courses, and honestly, I was just absolutely blown away. I thought, wow, holistic, check, online, check, science, check. So it just met all my needs. And to say I was a little nervous about going back to school after, 40 plus years is an understatement. But that is how I found NTI. Yeah. And,
great.
Maybe looked at a few other schools, but nothing, Dianne, compared to what you guys offered.
Yeah. Well,
was that.
Yeah, thank you for that. We say that all the time, that you won't find anything that compares to our education. We say that, but none of us have gone to another school, so we don't know for sure what other programs are providing. But based on the information that you can get from websites and informational booklets and that kind of stuff, we definitely feel confident in our ability to say that we provide the most comprehensive education. So I appreciate you validating that from a student perspective.
But I want to add to that too, Dianne, that it's not just the education, because I think, you could just roll out any kind of program, but it really, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, the staff, the faculty, they were absolutely amazing. I mean, here I was going back to school in my 60s, and technology was like, oh, you've got to be kidding.
Yeah.
You know, Google Docs and download this and upload.
Right.
I thought, I cannot do this. But the office staff, give them a call, and in 2 seconds they had an answer for me. And same with the teachers. But you have to really credit the faculty and staff.
Yeah. Well,
for putting through this program, Diane.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, thank you for prompting that, because you are completely right. I mean, this school would not exist at the level it does without our staff and our instructors. So
yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you for, giving that shout out to them, because I say that all the time. I think that all the time, but I appreciate you prompting me to say it here, because it is absolutely true.
It's outstanding. Really.
Yeah.
They kept me going.
Yeah. Yeah. They keep me going too.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned a couple times that you've been on a health and wellness journey, yourself, and have always been interested in health and wellness. So can you talk about that journey and kind of the progress of that, and maybe where it started and kind of how you got to where you are?
Yes. It really started with my dad, honestly, and he was a physical therapist.
Oh.
And when I was 15 years old, for my birthday, he bought me the book Aerobics by Ken Cooper. Now that's before aerobics was even out there in the world.
Right.
And he said, this is going to be the next big thing. And then he bought the family a juicer the next year, and he was juicing carrots and cucumbers and celery. I mean, this is 1973.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And he was so just far ahead of himself. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had two older brothers that lifted weights. And I said to my dad, well, this is not fair. I mean, girls should be able to do this too. So there he was, 17 years old, put me on a weight program. So, my point is that I had a background, and I always knew that nutrition and exercise were really the cornerstones of, good health. Mm-hmm. So I went on, through college, I was dancing and danced professionally. And then after that, I was hired on at Canyon Ranch Resort here in Arizona.
Sure.
And taught everything from, weight training and aerobics to Pilates. And, before that was even really the in thing. Mm-hmm. And then I became a director of their wellness program. So the best thing about that was that I got to work with physicians and psychologists and nutritionists, and I just continued to, broaden my education without having a formal education. So I learned so much, and I took everything I learned from Canyon Ranch on the road, and I started my own personal training health coach business. And I've had that now for over 30 years. So that's kind of my journey. As I get older, I, talk now about, healthy aging and menopause and all of that. Yeah. So that's my journey in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So, Canyon Ranch. So, were you in residence at Canyon Ranch along with any, names that we might recognize, in terms of instructors and teachers there?
Oh my gosh.
I know Mark Hyman worked there for a while.
Sure. Oh gosh. Yes. There's some chefs and
well, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. We had a lot of celebrities that came there, that's for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
But my 5 years there was pretty special, and I really, really, really learned a lot. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
That's an awesome experience. Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
So you have been, you said 30 years health coach and personal trainer.
Yes.
But you didn't have a formal education in nutrition.
I did not.
So how has your certification now that you've gotten from NTI, up-leveled, augmented, enhanced your work in the field of health coaching and personal training?
Yeah, all of those words, Diane. I feel really confident now. Yeah. I feel so confident. I had, with working all these nutritionists throughout the years and my 30-year career as a health coach, and various different, certifications along the way in nutrition and just like my personal training and all that. And just reading and my own personal knowledge, having gone through a few health issues. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I knew things more than the average person, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But what NTI did was gave me the confidence, obviously, to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it was science-based,
Mm-hmm.
I can talk about it intelligently and give them, clients and myself, the why behind why things are happening to our bodies. Right? This is what's happening, and how nutrition can really, really enhance that. So, whatever maybe disease, you have, or, whether it's diabetes or, heart disease or, high blood pressure, whatever that is, I had now I have, wow, is that why that happens? And how can nutrition, help us? Even more so than I even knew. I was surprised. You don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
So as we went through all the various classes, I thought, God, that is amazing. I was always just more and more surprises happened. So yeah, just feel more confident to talk about it more than anything.
Yeah, well, and that, your story really exemplifies the story that we hear often, because there are so many people who go through a health coach certification program or a personal training certification, and then, get continuing education in those fields. But that education still does not prepare you to be a nutrition therapist at the level that maybe your clients that you're working with are asking you about, because they, certainly whatever skills and knowledge you get in your training as a health coach and a personal trainer, you're confident in that, and you're speaking from a place of credibility in that scope of practice.
Right.
And then they start, I would imagine that they start asking you questions about nutrition. And as you said, you kind of had your own self-education and kind of a base higher than what the average person would have, higher knowledge. But, I'm guessing you got into situations where people were asking questions that you still couldn't answer, even with the length of time that you were in this field of health coaching and personal training. And that is so common that people are like, they're working, they're, in the field, a wellness field. This is a wellness, health coaching, personal training is a wellness field. They're in this wellness field, and they still recognize there is something missing. And so needing to get that education in nutrition to have that well-rounded educational background to provide a well-rounded full service in the field of holistic wellness.
And just the depth of knowledge. You can have a surface level knowledge, right, and know it pretty darn well, and for general speaking. But when you start working with special populations, you really want to know the bottom layer. You want to know the in-depth science behind it all. That's what was so important to me, and I know you hear that a lot as well. Well,
but it's always good to hear from a student to validate that what we say we do is actually what's happening. So that's great.
Absolutely.
So what have you been doing since graduating from NTI?
So I'm still doing my health coaching, but I have a whole nutrition piece now, which is great. So that when I do, let's say like an initial consultation, which is an hour and a half, and we go through, all about, their lifestyle, whatever that is, nutrition and exercise and all that. But the nutrition piece is much bigger. And, I'm able to do menu planning. And of course, now I have these wonderful forms that I learned.
Yes, there you go. See?
And so that's been so helpful. I draw on those all the time. And just feel more confident about making, recommendations to them. So there's just, so that's what I'm still doing. I'm working on making some longer videos talking more about healthy aging and menopause and through most postmenopause. Those are sort of what I really enjoy talking about and feel confident about talking about it. So yeah, still plugging along.
Yeah.
Fighting the good fight.
Well, so you specialize in women's health as they age.
Absolutely.
Would that be an accurate characterization? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, a big part of that is, menopause. But now that I'm, this age, I'm 65, I like to talk about postmenopause and how our bodies are constantly changing,
right,
and what we can do to age successfully. That is what yes. And nutrition obviously is a huge role in that.
Yeah, I totally agree. As a woman who is over the age of 50,
right.
You see it every day where there are opportunities or periods of time where if you're not careful, you can, slip back and gaining health and competence and mobility. If you've slipped back, if you've let it slip,
Right.
it's much harder to do after age 50. And so you really have to keep on top of it.
This is absolutely true. And I know from my own experience. And I think, Dianne, this is why I enjoy talking about it so much, because, I do have this background, right, of health and fitness and all of that. And then, of course, nutrition. So I feel confident as I grow older with all the rest of them, all the rest of us gals out there, right? I see my own body changing rapidly all the time. Every year something else happens. Love to talk about it because I feel like I'm one of the tribe.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, in fact, you wrote a book before you came to school. I think it was before you even started school, Getting to the Best You.
Yeah, Getting to the Best You. Here it is.
There it is. Nice.
It's on my bookshelf too.
And so that book, is that book focusing on women over age 50?
It is. Yeah, over 56. You always say that almost anybody could, over that age, men and women can,
of course,
you get something out. But it is focusing, and it's really talks about how to get started on a wellness program. Like, what are your first steps to getting started? So I have a chapter on exercise, of course, huge chapter on nutrition, of what I did know, at least at the time. And a little bit on menopause and sleep and, everything that encompasses, holistic healthy life.
Right.
So, there.
Well, I was going to say, so you bring up a good point that, you wrote about nutrition, what you knew at the time, because you wrote this book before you came to school. So is there a second edition in the works? Because,
yes, ma'am.
Because likely you have learned more that you want to include and update.
Here's what happened. When I wrote this book, I had been keeping a file of notes for years, client stories, things I thought, if I ever wrote a book, I'd love to write about this type of thing. And I love to motivate women to get healthier and to get started. And that was my main goal of this book. How do I get women to get excited about moving again and eating well and all that? Yes. So having said that, I've been looking through my chapters and I even remember telling the girls in the office, because I sent them a copy. I said, you know what? When I'm going to write I've got to rewrite this book. And I tell people when I give it to them, like in a talk or something, I'm rewriting this little chapter. These are things I would do different. These are things how I would support myself nutritionally now as I get older. Well, can you give us like one example of something that sticks in your mind of something that you definitely know you want to update or add? I think, when I think about that chapter on menopause and aging, which I'm proud of, but there's a whole, which I really enjoyed, the one class on herbology and supplements and all that. And there are so many things along those lines that we can do to support our bodies as we, through menopause. And that's one thing that I will really dive into. In the book. And there's just little things
Yeah.
It's just little things, I think, maybe a little bit on the oil chapter or the fat chapter. Fats, I mean, not fat.
Yes, yes,
fats.
Yeah, I knew what you meant.
It didn't sound good.
Yeah.
There's just little picky things in there that I thought,
Sure.
I feel really good about the movement and exercise, but as I tune it, yes, there's definitely some things that I will rewrite.
Yeah, good.
Still overall proud of the book.
Of course.
It definitely needs to be, and so glad that I have that new knowledge.
Yeah.
That is for darn sure.
Yeah. Well, of course. Well, that's awesome. Glad to hear that going through school didn't cause you to say, the whole thing needs to be trashed. I need to just start over from scratch. No, you definitely, that's good. That's great. But
again, when I wrote it, you just don't know what you don't know, as I said before.
I know.
Right. And now I know, and now I can make some changes accordingly.
Yeah.
And talk about those changes.
Of course, there's going to be things 10 years from now that we're going to say, I didn't know that. So it's an ever evolving process. So you got to keep rewriting your book over and over and over again.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
It's okay. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a fun conversation. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to talk about, or anything that, that I missed? And
well, Dianne, I want to say to, who's ever watching, that it really did occur to me when I went back to school that you can learn and you can change and you can learn new habits at any age. And because when I first approached this, and I saw the syllabus, I really was a little bit freaked out. I thought, I had all these excuses. I don't know if I can do this. But it's like I tell my clients, you just got to chunk it down, right? You just take a little piece at a time, one exam question at a time, one class, one, whatever, one little paper at a time. So it's all doable. It's all doable. And I want to just leave you with one funny little story. It's not even a story, but when I received my diploma in the mail from NTI, I also got my notification that I was approved for Medicare on the same day. Oh. And I thought, you know what? This is perfect.
Yeah.
This is just perfect.
Absolutely.
So I encourage anybody who's thinking about going back to school and going to NTI, just do it, just as Nike says.
Yeah.
Just do it. It's all good. And I want to thank you guys so very much, Dianne, for bottom of my heart, from the school. It was fantastic on so many levels for me. Yeah.
Well, thank you for saying that. And thank you also for, saying that you can do it at any age, because, we obviously have students of all ages, but the vast majority of our students are, probably 30s, 40s.
Right.
And once they get over 50, they think, going back to school, too hard, I'm too old, whatever. And we know that is all like, I don't know, social programming. I don't know, societal programming. I don't know what it is.
It is.
Yeah.
That's what we hear. You're too old.
That's right. That's right.
And that is something that I'd love to talk about. Absolutely. You're not. Yeah. And I am proof of that. And it not only that, it was great for my brain.
Yes. Yeah.
It was really great for my brain. I'm kidding. I think I got smarter in 2 years.
Well,
the cobwebs cleared out a little bit.
There you go. Yeah. Well, so that's how you keep the brain nimble, is learning new things. So
always.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been such a fun conversation.
Thanks,
I've enjoyed talking to you and
you as well.
Meeting you in person, even though we're on, a two-dimensional screen here. But so how can people find you? What kind of handles do you have, and where could people find you on the internet?
I have a website, fantastic website. Actually, one of your former instructors, Sarah, helped me put it together.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, and it's laurierein.com. Pretty easy. Facebook is just Laurie Rein Health and Wellness. Okay. And then my Instagram, it's just Laurie Rein, lowercase line, not sure what you call that, but NTM.
Great.
So for Nutrition Therapist Master. Yeah, and then I have a newsletter that comes out monthly that they can sign up through the website.
Great. And just for those people who are listening,
Yes.
we should probably spell your last name.
Yes. So my whole name is Laurie, and the last name Rein, Rein, LaurieRein.com.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Laurie. So nice to talk to you. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend a little time with me and all of those who are listening and watching. So it was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you, Diane. It was really a pleasure. I appreciate it.
Great. Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.